Welcome back to TARTLEcast. There are some important things we should do, right? And those are the voices that are heard, the people behind the scenes, the ones that make it happen. And I want to bring to the studio today someone who had recently joined the company a couple months ago. His name's Matthew Smith. He's a data specialist. Matt has learned the ins and outs of TARTLE. He knows intimately everything that's going on. It's pretty much his first time on the mic here, right?
I've been on the mic a few times.
Oh.
For walkthrough videos.
Oh, for walkthrough videos. So you're filming this yourself, right? So you're really doing, what you do is when you film content or create that content, you're doing it to educate others, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's run with this, Matt. And bring the mic closer. Don't be shy. Just yank it right over your face. Okay.
Yeah. What's going on?
All right. So let's start this off. When you're creating this content, what is the importance of education? Why does this occur? You see the help tickets all day long. You see these things that are naturally occurring with our user base, which is quite large across a lot of countries. How are you perceiving things like that?
Well, our website's in English, so most of these users may not understand the verbiage or how things are interpreted.
Yeah.
So doing walkthrough videos is another outlet to learn how to do simple things such as delete your account or verify email, how to sell a packet, how to fill out a packet, what auto sell means, and all those different aspects of the TARTLE marketplace.
So our technology is growing. We have advancements, things that ship every single week, new changes, ones that are seen or unseen. So you have to keep abreast for what those things are going on and essentially translate that to the end user so that as those changes occur, you can bring them up to speed and help that empower them through their process, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Because there will be new features that they may not know of, and once they start utilizing them, it'll make their experience a lot easier.
And what is so important about that experience? How do you see the value of that experience for them? What does that mean to you?
Repeat the question.
That experience. So when you do this stuff, are you doing it just for the paycheck? Do you have that end user in mind? How is it that you visualize this thing? You know what we do at TARTLE. How does that translation go into your work?
To make the user experience easier, because it can be frustrating if you don't understand what you're doing and you need money.
Yep.
To feed your families, feed yourself. And so if the process is really difficult to understand, then you don't want to do it.
Right.
And so if I can make that process or alleviate any headaches in getting you some money to feed your family or feed yourself, that's the drive through it.
So if I understand then from what you're saying, the work you're putting in, the educational material that you create, tries to remove as much friction as possible to get people, over the goal line. To say, you joined because this is what you were looking for an outcome. And I'm here to support you in that process using this new tool, which you've never seen before. And I want to get you there so it can help you, it can help your family, and you can feel those outcomes so that you can continue to evolve.
Yes, that's the goal.
Is that something that makes you get up in the morning? Is that something you constantly remind yourself of?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a big motivator because you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for others.
Yeah. And it's not often like, you get to come on the air like this and express what you're doing, right? And I'm just dragging you in hot, like this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, totally unprepared, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, when things are unprepared, they're typically more authentic, right?
Yeah.
So, Matt, I'd like to ask you, as a data specialist, and you've grown a lot in your position, where do you see the future? What does this mean for the world going forward when you see people using it? What are your hopes and outcomes for the community at large?
It's to help as many people as possible, I think. For what TARTLE does, there's nothing else like it. And technology has been around for quite a while, I feel like, and no one's thought of helping others lesser than them. But the goal, I guess, would be to have a lot of companies getting their data ethically from individuals and incentivizing those individuals for their work.
And has there anything that's happened in your own personal life, and you can share it whether or not you want to, that you think helps translate into the work you're doing so that you can kind of share that going forward? Like kind of pay it forward to those individuals? Are there any struggles you've seen that you say, you know, I can also help alleviate those struggles that other people are going through? It could be something simple. It could be going into a business, customer service, anything like that.
I think probably on the customer service side, making sure they get their problem solved if they have any problems, more so.
Right. So if somebody wanted to solve your problem, right? You have a problem, you want to come to somebody. How do you expect to be greeted when you have something that you're trying to get fixed? What are your expectations?
Talking to a real person that can relate to what I'm going through.
Essentially establishing that sort of relationship with that person, right?
Right.
Because it's all people at the end of the day that come together on this.
Mm-hmm. Rather than getting a chat robot who can't answer my question.
Right. I mean, it's all well and good to have like that AI in there, right? To say, you know, whatever the name is that pops up and has a list of basic questions.
Mm-hmm.
But there are nuances to these things. It actually requires a human touch.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are on TARTLE, but it doesn't mean we can't implement that element that needs to be there, which is that human touch. So the way I see it going forward is that I would hope you or people that work with you take on that responsibility to bring in that sort of element, that human element that needs to be there, because people need the help. They will always ask questions. There will always be a need for understanding. And I think education is first and foremost one of those priority things.
Right.
Right. It's almost like, wouldn't it be great if we could have a podcast with every single one of those individuals?
Be a fun show.
Yeah. But, you know, in considering the fact, when I think about it, you know, there's a lot of empathy that can get baked into working with these people. You can feel their frustrations because they want the opportunity bad. You know, so it's interesting how much of a relationship you have to share with so many of these people because you are in a form of direct contact with them. So how does that change the element of that work? The fact that you are establishing that relationship and you are responsible for getting them to that point where there is not that friction, where they can truly start to help themselves.
Ask that question again.
Yeah. What I'm saying, you feel those relationships, right?
Yeah.
I know podcasting is different, right? Because there's a lot, I'm saying a lot, there's a lot to think about, right? And you're like, how should I chew on my thoughts?
3-sentence questions right there. And
I
I'm
know.
like, wait, I'm still on the first part.
No, the way I look at this is that if you go to establish a relationship with those individuals through customer service or whatever it might be,
right?
There's a lot of empathy baked into that. There's a lot actually with a relationship that begins to occur because you want to remove those frictions for them. How do you deal with that personally? How do you take in all these things that people may be complaining about? How do you put it through a lens where you can be like, okay, how do I help them? I understand something is going wrong or there's a misunderstanding. How do I educate and empower the person?
Well, I have to think about more so, does it align with TARTLE? What are they asking for? What do we need? What are we missing?
Hold on. Align with TARTLE. What do you mean?
They could be asking me to pay them more money when they haven't worked for that money.
Interesting.
So I can understand that, sure, they need the money, but did they do it properly? Did they go through the right process for earning that money? And so there's a lot of checks I need to have, although I don't have a face aligned with it. It's more like an email address or something like that aligned with text. So it's sometimes hard to separate that, but you also got to understand there's not always good people in the world, so you can't always trust them. You know?
Right.
But when you do see those stories of them emailing in how much TARTLE has helped them or what they've been able to do with TARTLE, it's rewarding for what we're doing. The way I handle it, though, is this is why I come to work every day, why I do what I do, why I want to do what I want to do.
Right.
And expand more on that customer service side, making it better for those individuals to be paid. And making sure those buyers know where their money's going.
Which is fundamentally important because when someone spends a resource, they want to know that it's going where it says it's going to go.
Correct.
So that level of education is important.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come in and you look at the culture, right? I speak about culture all the time. Okay. How do you feel during the workday about that culture? How do you feel internally about Tartle, what's going on? And I'm just throwing it at you on the spot.
I get reminded every day, and not just by you guys, but I try to remind myself of that as well. But it's not to get medals or make a ton of money. It's more of just like the recognition of helping others.
Love that.
That's the culture. Helping others, and not just people across the world, but each other as well.
Well, Matt, that makes me feel pretty good. And that makes you feel good. And I appreciate the long pauses. I appreciate you chewing on it. I know I ask complex, questions. There's multiple layers to it.
Brain works really fast.
Yeah, and it's double-edged sword, right?
Could
it's
be
helpful and hurtful at the same time. You know what I mean? Talking to me with like, what just happened? What's going on? But as I ask it, I'm building upon it. Like I can feel it occurring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like having that sort of feeling, that's the thing. It's that human element. So whether we're doing it on the podcast or it's the millions of users that are on Tartle, it's people all over the globe, different cultures, we all got to meet each other where we are, and we're all got to find that understanding. And bringing employees on of Tartle to talk about their understanding, how they feel about it, no matter how comfortable they are or non-comfortable, right? No matter how well-spoken or non-well-spoken, paused or not paused, whatever it might be, it's important that the voice is heard and people see who are the people that are actually working to make this thing happen. So I appreciate you jumping on today.
Who's next?
What do you mean, who's next?
Who's next on the podcast?
Yeah, who's next on the podcast? Yeah, that's a great question. Who do we want to bring on?